Jonas and Brady in for Clay Travis. This is Outkick the coverage here on Fox Sports Radio. All right, so this Julio Jones, Shannon Sharpe situation in which Shannon Sharpe called him on the air, and Julio Jones said, "I'm out of there," and just that whole drama that went down.
Right.
Apparently, this has quote unquote become a real big deal and a problem.
Oh, has it?
Yeah, a problem.
Oh, okay.
And that according to reports who say that Fox Sports is involved.
Oh,
I don't know. I don't know how deep you want to get into all that based on your relationship and all that, but I don't know, man. Amy Dash, who's a legal reporter, she's done a lot of stuff at Fox Sports Radio. She's awesome. She sent out a tweet last night that said, "I've heard Julio Jones knew." That he knew about it and he was okay with it. The Falcons apparently were quote unquote blindsided by this and all that.
Could you imagine what they're going through right now? Can you imagine?
It's even worse than what LeBron's going through. I know it's just awful. I find it hard to believe that he wasn't at least clued in to the fact that, hey, this is going to go over the air.
Let me stop you before you go any further, because that only matters if Julio didn't know and he was going to press charges, because it's a two-consent law in the state of California, right? So that only matters if that's going to be the case. Julio's not pressing charges against Shannon Sharpe for that, okay? So let's just take that out of the equation. This has become an issue because the Falcons feel like they've been caught blindsided. Newsflash to the Atlanta Falcons organization. If he would have done this on Instagram and said this, you still would have been in the same exact spot. And in fact, he told you after the season he didn't want to be there anymore. What did you think was going to happen? And so do you really want to create a stir about all this when in reality, if you're the NFL, this is what this has done. It's created during the playoffs of the NBA, during the playoffs of the NHL, during one of the best victories we've ever seen in a major in golf. Your story still dominates the headline. Your 365-day-a-year sport that only plays in the fall and into the winter has somehow dominated year-round. And it's because of stuff like this. No one sells drama like the NFL does.
Yeah.
And so are you going to sit there and tell me you are legitimately upset, or the NFL, there could be backlash to Fox Sports? Give me a break. You got to be kidding me. They're not going to do anything with this, okay? Because if the player could have come out and done it on his own and publicly stated, I'm out of here, I don't want to be in Atlanta anymore, I appreciate everything that they've done, the fans have done, all that stuff, but I'm out. The only difference is it was now orchestrated through a show that, to be quite honest with you, what this does, this takes pressure off of Julio. This is why it's brilliant. Because Shannon Sharpe, who I believe is in a contract negotiation, he flexes like he does. I mean, he doesn't need to flex, by the way. The dude is as yoked up as you'll find.
Yeah, he is.
But he shows you the power he has when he wants to dial up a star in the NFL. He can do it, and they're picking up, by the way, which is a whole separate conversation. Like, it's one thing to have someone who's like a big name in your phone. It's another one to have them pick up. Like two completely separate conversations. Like, you try to call me all the time. I never pick up, right?
Yes,
so that would never work for you.
That's a great point. Thank you very much. Yeah.
But the reality is this. It's good for Shannon Sharpe, especially in the situation that he's in right now, and it's good for Julio. Because now it gets across the, no. I'm serious about this, Atlanta. I told you after the season I didn't want to be there anymore. You've waited around. You lost all the leverage because then you went and drafted my replacement in Kyle Pitts. This isn't on me. This is on you. And they found a unique way where now everyone's kind of talking about what Shannon Sharpe did instead of what Julio Jones wants. But what does it do? It keeps the NFL still in the news, even with playoffs and everything else, and it allows this to come to the forefront with Atlanta saying, look, you got to make a decision. Like, this is the point now where you've got to make a decision, and I'm sure teams are calling. There's probably a number of teams that are calling with their best offer to get this thing done so they can get him in there before training camp.
Brady Quinn, Jonas Knox here, in for Clay Travis on Fox Sports Radio for Outkick the coverage. All right, yes, and there's another element of this as well, too. And people are going to think I'm full of crap when I say this, but there's another element to this story.
I mean, regardless of what you say, you still are full of crap.
But I think this is the time that I might not be completely full of crap. All right, it's regarding this story. Some people out there, they have been exposed. We are going to do the exposing of them, and we are going to do it next here. Jonas and Brady in for Clay Travis. Outkick the coverage on Fox Sports Radio. The Julio Jones situation. Now, you pointed out, for those of you that might have missed it, just hopping in the car, whatever the case may be, you pointed out that you actually think this is good for the NFL and it's also good for Julio Jones, correct? Like that is your feeling.
It honestly might even be good for the team, getting enough interest in teams like, oh, this situation's pretty dire. There's a number of teams who want to go after this guy. Let's make whatever that best offer is right now. But again, like I said, Atlanta already botched this because they should have dealt him before the draft. Once you draft a guy's replacement, you lose that leverage. They already know that where you're headed, what you're going to do, and that you're either going to release him at some point if this becomes too big of a deal, or they're going to trade him for less. They already know that's what's going to happen at this point.
Do you believe, and this is just, and I do 100% believe this. I'm not just saying this to try and be a smart ass or a wise ass. I 100% believe that there are two parties that are upset here, and I have the reasons why. The Atlanta Falcons are upset because they were, quote-unquote, trying to quietly work this behind the scenes and get this deal done. And I believe that Julio Jones was tired of waiting around for him. It's why the conversation started to pick up steam after the draft. He was tired of waiting around for him, and Julio Jones went on the offensive and basically tried to speed up the process because he told them a long time ago, let's get a deal done. All right, so are you with me on that? That Julio Jones knew what he was doing and said, look, I'm tired of waiting for you guys. It's either, crap or get off the pot. Let's get a deal done. You've had months to work this out. You went and did something in the draft. You could have gotten a deal done then, and this is why this has been why he tried to force the issue. So do you believe that the Falcons are pissed because he forced their hand and is now speeding up the process?
Yeah, dude, this is easy. This is like we see it in Hollywood all the time. This is when there's a breakup and like they're trying to make it amicable, and both the actor and the actress, they each have their own PR team that want to, but then someone leaks it first, and they're the ones that get the first story out. The other person ends up being upset by it. Look, Terry Fontenot, who's their general manager, he hasn't been a general manager before, so this is his first time doing it. Arthur Smith, their head coach, first time doing it. They get burnt, right? This is a learning lesson for them, that they should have been proactive initially when he first asked, or gotten the word out, or done something. But yeah, I agree with you. But this is like any other Hollywood relationship at this point.
And here's the other party that's pissed off about this. And I'm telling you, there's something to this. I believe the reason why this is getting as much negative feedback as it's getting and as much negative pushback as it's getting is because I think there are some bitter people in the media. I really do. And after what I saw all yesterday and the coverage and the reports and the articles written about it, I think there's some bitter people in the media who are upset that they didn't get the story, that it wasn't on their show, that it wasn't on their network, and that instead of bringing on an analyst to break down or an insider to break down their information, Shannon Sharpe, live on the air, called the guy, put him on speaker, and got him to not only say, I want out of Atlanta, but no, I'm not going to Dallas because I want to win. I mean, you cannot have a better setup, and I think that was what every network was wanting. If it was some other network, they wouldn't have nearly the criticism as they would now, because they would have welcomed the look, they would welcome the feedback, the conversation surrounding the shore. I think there's some bitterness from people that didn't get the story, and that's another part of this and another element to this story. And yesterday only proved me right. Yeah,
of course. But the other thing that happens where the media does this, notice when players, whether they announce something on their own on Instagram or they put up like a post announcing something, do you ever notice the reaction? Usually people tend to be more critical, and they take a different tone. because it's the same thing.
Right.
They are going around them like they're using their platform. They're using social media to connect to the masses or make their announcements. So all the insiders just realized you don't have really a purpose. Like, your job's gone. If people wanted to do this more often, you wouldn't have it. There would be no need for you, right? They would just go out and speak themselves. So,
you want to piss off a hairstylist? Tell him you cut your own hair. Yeah. See what he says. You know what I'm saying? Like all of a sudden his job's eliminated.
Well, or just tell him you went to somewhere else, right? Like, and that's essentially what Julio did in this case. He just went to a guy like Shannon Sharpe, who, again, kudos to Shannon for getting it done. It's good for their show, right? Because you don't know what's going to happen. I think Skip said that at some point or posted that. You never know what's going to happen on their show. So it's good publicity. But you're right. Like, I think going around the normal circles to get the word out like this,
so great.
There's no doubt it's played a factor in the tone and the criticism that Fox Sports has received, Shannon Sharpe's received, anyone else involved. But this happens all the time, I think, when players take their own initiative to speak up and say something on their own. The media tends to bash them because he didn't come to them. He didn't talk to them first about it.
Yeah, it's just an amazing story of hypocrisy, but it was really fun to watch.